Hey Storehouse family, my name is Joel. I've been a member, me and my wife Shondell have been a member at Storehouse for almost 10 years. A little bit about myself. I gave my life to the Lord in 2011. I had come out of the homosexual lifestyle. I was partying, drinking, doing drugs, being a sex addict, and I didn't know where my life was going at the time. I would just party, and every day I thought, wow, like, is this my life? I remember being 22 years old and thinking, I'm going to be young and beautiful forever, and never saw myself being married, never saw myself being older. And one day, my friend's, who's my wife now, she was my friend, and I met her. She met me when I was in the lifestyle, and we became friends, and we were at a party at her house, and I actually brought my partner at the time over to her and her family's house, and the whole marriage discussion came up, and they spoke life into me, and they said, God has a purpose for both of y'all. God has lineage for you and wants you to be married, and this isn't the life that you're supposed to be living. So that day I remember I was crying, and but then the next day I kind of just brushed it off. I'm like, whatever, I'm going to continue living the life that I wanted to live. And she still became my friend, and her family loved me where I was at in life. And then a couple of years later, I was taking an exam at a community college, and this girl in my class, she said, hey, Joel, God has a purpose for you. I don't think you're supposed to be living this lifestyle. I think God has lineage for you, and this is not your identity. And I'm like, I'm hungover and on something, and she's talking to me, and I'm like, what the heck is this chick telling me? And so that kind of sunk in, but then I was just like, whatever, I want to continue living my life. A year later, we are in 2011, but before that, I remember at the end of 2010, I remember laying down in my bed, and I just asked God, I said, God, is this really my life? I couldn't see myself being in my late 20s, early 30s. I couldn't see myself beyond of where I was at the age that I was. I just thought I was going to be this beautiful young man forever. And then the person who I was seeing at the time, his parents were pastors, evangelists, and their son was not living the life that they had wanted him to live. And they had invited me to his niece's kindergarten graduation, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I get there, and I felt kind of off. I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. And afterwards, his parents, I'm thinking, okay, his parents are going to probably shove the Bible down my throat, whatever. And then his parents, his dad, afterwards just started speaking life into me and told me, God has a purpose for both of you guys, and he doesn't want y'all to be living this life, and we're created to have lineage and to have offspring. And I think from then and there, I just kind of knew, okay, this is a father speaking into me, and it was something that I never had in my life. And I remember that day, that evening, I thought, okay, I think I'm kind of done with this lifestyle. So the next day, I go get my hair cut with my stylist, and was just as crazy as I was, but I noticed that for the last 2 months, she was kind of not talking to me the way we would talk. And before, she was just kind of very I would talk about something, bad or something vulgar. She just kind of shut it down. And then she told me, she just stopped right there, and I'm literally looking in the mirror, and she's looking in the mirror too, and she says, Joel, God has a purpose for you. God doesn't want you to live this. God wants to bless you. He wants you to have lineage. He wants you to have a wife. And I remember looking at the mirror, and And I said, you know what, Rachel? Yeah, you're right. I'm done. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm done with this lifestyle. So that couple of days later, I call my good friend, who's now my wife, Shondell. And I said, Shondell, I'm going to give my life to the Lord. And Shondell was overseas at a discipleship school, and I never would, this is in 2011, prior to that, the last 4 years, I had been writing her handwritten letters wherever she was around the world. And I had called her, and she thought something was wrong with me. And I said, Shondell, I'm giving my life to the Lord. And she says, we've been praying and interceding for you for the last 4 years. People around the world have been praying for you. And here I am, 2024. I'm married now, and I have a 5-year-old daughter who's very beautiful. And Storehouse has been part of this journey of me walking through this discipleshiping and just living my life for God, and they get to see the blessing of me living out my identity in Jesus. So I just really want to thank them. Thank you, Storehouse, for being there for me. Thank you, John and Tracy. Thank you to everyone.